Hey guys, welcome to another do-it-yourself installation video. Before I do that, welcome to the new garage. Yeah, so I finally got everything moved and we're all set up here, so you guys will be seeing some more projects coming out of this location. So today I'm going to be installing the APE manual cam chain tensioner on my 2009 R1. I want to talk about a couple of things up front before we get into the installation. First of all, what is it? Why do you need it? The cam chain, which is attached to the camshafts on the motor, are what control your intake and exhaust valves on the engine. In this case, the chain has to have a little bit of tension on it to keep it from jumping teeth. The R1, as well as all other motorcycles, have got an automatic tensioner that's hydraulic driven and uses oil pressure. In the case of the 2009, when you start the bike, the automatic cam chain tensioner doesn't have any hydraulic pressure and therefore doesn't have a lot of tension on the chain, causing the chain to slap around inside the crankcase, making a really awful noise. Yamaha says it's not a big deal, but a lot of owners, including myself, have been concerned that the chain tensioner could fail, which if it jumps teeth, then you have a piston making contact with a valve and you have a blown engine. So this is a relatively easy and straightforward fix that's also fairly inexpensive to do. There are a couple of things you need to keep in mind though. First of all, it is important that this thing is adjusted properly, because if it isn't and you have too much or too little tension on the chain, you could cause damage. If you have too much tension, the guides as well as the chain itself could become damaged over time, if not right away. If you have too little tension, you're looking at the cam chain jumping a couple of teeth on the gear, and thus you've got a timing problem and eventually a blown engine. It's not a difficult installation, but it is one that we're going to want to take great care and pay attention to detail. Secondly, the tensioner that I purchased is from a company called APE. They're probably, from what I've seen, the most prominent brand name that's associated with this particular bike for this particular problem. I want to take a minute to talk about customer service, and I'll explain something here in a moment. I was sent the incorrect tensioner, and actually I want to show it to you on the bike. You will see why. I don't know what mistake was made, but for whatever reason, the incorrect tensioner was packaged as a 2009 R1 edition. It came, I installed it, I actually was shooting a little bit of video, but the oil passage that powers the automatic tensioner was not blocked. That was unexpected. As such, I had oil fire out of the bike, and I cannot put the automatic tensioner back in per Yamaha's instructions. I contacted APE. They dealt with the issue. They've sent me a new tensioner. I've got it here today. I'm going to put it in for you today as well. So I want to just take a second to talk about customer service and why it's important we support companies like this. Selling products is easy. You're selling things like spark plugs or brake pads, anything that's easy to take off a shelf, package, and kick out the door. That's easy customer service. How you evaluate how good a company is based on when something goes wrong. I contacted APE on Friday of last week. Today is Thursday. They got back to me on Saturday, which I was really surprised about. They took the time to answer my email on a Saturday. They initially said they would get back to me on Monday. However, later that day, they reviewed the photos that I sent and the information I gave them, and they told me that they had incorrectly sent the unit and they will be sending the correct one for me on Monday. Free of charge, no additional shipping costs. They just simply asked that I box the old one back up and send it back. This is the kind of customer service you guys want to keep an eye out for, and these are companies that you should support. So if you have an 09 R1 and you're looking to get this replacement, please buy it from APE and give them your business, because they will take care of you. So let's get started. Let's talk about the tools that you're going to need. First of all, I want to make a note. This is the automatic tensioner that is actually installed in the bike. I have mine taken off because of trying to install this previously, but I want to give you guys first an idea of what it looks like when you take it out. It's very simple to remove. It's simply 2 bolts. Now, when we get to the point where you're supposed to take this thing out, I want to make one important item of note. You need to make sure you have the right part. This is actually When I had original problems with the part, I kind of hedged my bets as to whether or not APE was going to help out, and I ordered a second part off of a separate dealer, and this is what I got. This is the exact same part that I originally received from APE directly, and it's not the right one for this model year and bike. It says 09R1. This is not right. This is the correct version. You'll note that it's thicker, and also, if you look carefully, the lobe that is on the right on this one is now on the left on this unit, and that lobe is what actually blocks the oil passage that powers the automatic tensioner. Very important. Make sure you have the right part before you begin, because according to Yamaha, if this piston is extended because the unit has been used, you cannot reinstall it on the bike. It needs to be reinstalled in the locked position, otherwise it will not work correctly and you could damage the motorcycle. Because this could result in a blown motor, do not take chances trying to jam this sucker back in. Maybe it will work. Maybe Yamaha is just simply covering their butts. Don't take the chance, because you'll end up with a blown engine and a paperweight bike. So, don't forget to get a replacement gasket. My bike's got low miles, got the gasket anyways, $1.50, no big deal. Here are the tools that you're gonna need. You're gonna need a number 5mm Allen wrench. You're going to need a number 30 torque bit. Torque bits are the star bits. I only have screwdrivers. I don't have sockets, so I'm roughing it a little bit today. Going to need the clamps to turn the screwdriver to break the screws loose. If you have sockets, you won't need either one of these. A number 16mm wrench for the top nut, and a number 14. I'm going to use a stubby for the bottom nut itself to lock it in place. You'll also need something to turn the motor. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking off the timing cover, and we're going to be turning the motor by hand to move it to top dead center, because the chain, from what I understand, has the most slack in that area, and we'll see that here in a second. What I'm going to do, just to walk you through this, is I'm actually going to apply a little bit of tension to the bike, because I've already taken my unit off. So I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead a little bit, and I'm going to get us to the point where we're going to start, and then I'll be right back with you guys. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be taking off this cover here. It's comprised of these 4 torque bits. Now, for the sake of argument, I'm going to need you guys to pretend that we have the automatic tensioner in place here. The reason why I have this installed like so is because when I turn the cam chain, I don't want any chance of there being an issue with the chain coming out of place. So I've got tension put on this unit, and we're just going to pretend like this is the actual automatic tensioner that's in place. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, I'm just going to break these loose. Okay. You may have to wiggle it loose. I've already taken it off, so it's not that big of a deal. Just be mindful, there is a gasket inside here. You may need to, if you recently ran your bike, you may need to keep a little bit of a pan or rag handy for a little oil, because oil does flow through here. All right, so what you're looking at here is basically a crank position sensor here, and you're looking at the bolt that we're going to turn with the gear there. And let's go ahead and get started. Nice little trusty breaker bar. And this is a number 14 socket. I'm using a 3/8 reducer from a 1/2 inch. So now I'm going to get down here first, and we're going to talk about how to find top dead center. Let's see, you're looking for a T, this little notch. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a bottom notch here, which I believe we're on bottom dead center. So when the piston is at the very bottom position before it starts to return upward. We're going to move the motor to top dead center. First, make sure it's in neutral and obviously not running. Now, I believe this is Denso, or Denso, depending on how you pronounce it. When you start to see this, start looking for top dead center, because that's going to be, this will be on your right. And there it is. You can see
It will have a T. The notch will be at the top of the tooth. Now, the way I've seen it done is there's a notch that runs down the middle of the position sensor. You want to line those two up pretty much like so. That's top dead center. Now it doesn't, from my understanding, it does not have to be at top dead center, but this is when the cam chain has the most slack. So now we're good to go there. The motor is in the correct position, and now we can go ahead and start taking out the actual tensioner. You're gonna grab the number 5. If you have a T-wrench, that works too. And then the tensioner will come out. I don't have a gasket on mine because I just put it in there. So again, this is the incorrect unit. I'm sure if this lobe was on this side, it would work perfectly fine, but for our purposes, it's not. The oil passage is located in the upper left-hand corner. This has to be covered, otherwise this will not work. All right, let's get the replacement unit. First things first, we're gonna need a new gasket. Like so, see? Gasket is a direct replacement, fits perfectly. You're gonna grab number 14, number 16, and your Allen wrench. Sometimes it is easier to put the screws in first. Oh, before I do that, first of all, make sure your unit spins freely, because you have to adjust this by hand. You cannot use a wrench. You have to feel for it. So, the first thing I'm going to do, just for the sake of argument, okay, gave myself a little bit of room. So again, make sure this unit spins freely, because since you have to adjust it by hand, you don't want to make the mistake of thinking that it's properly adjusted when it isn't. So back it all the way out before installation. Butterfingers. Get that like a glove. And like I said, I cannot emphasize how important it is to just double check everything. So, where are we now? The unit is installed, the gasket is in, the two Allen screws are tightened. Now, you're going to start tightening this by hand until you start to feel resistance. Keep going. Keep going and keep going, keep going, keep going. It'll toughen up and then it will lighten up. So even if it starts to get tough, keep going. Now you can see I can't turn this by hand anymore. This is when we're going to start adjusting. So now we're going to turn the motor ever so slightly. See, as soon as I even put pressure on this, it eases up. I'm not even turning it. All I'm doing is putting pressure on the bar. Now I'm turning just a little bit. I'm still tightening. Now I can't tighten anymore. And you're going to want to go all the way around, because as soon as I get some slack off that chain, hear the slurping noise inside the motor. I still can't tighten it. It just got super easy there when it came uncompressed. Again, look for the Denso. I still can't tighten this thing. I still can't tighten it. And there we are, top dead center. Now, per APE's instructions, back it off a quarter turn. If you have some that are more fine threaded, which I don't think this one is, they say a half a turn. We're gonna do that. Call it splitting the difference. Now, we need to do the jam nut, which the way I'm gonna do that, because I gotta turn this right. Sometimes having a 12 tooth is good. I'm gonna kind of lock it against the bike to make sure it doesn't move. Oop, careful not to strip it. That jam nut is on there. I'm gonna just test that. Good. Okay, folks.